Hey guys, how are you? Good evening. My name is Bud. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, glad you're here. Man, we've been doing this for a long time. What took you so long? Glad you found us. We do this every Monday night. We put time aside for an hour or so to answer your questions about international dating and singles tours and how to meet the beautiful women from the 8 different countries that we're now traveling to. We have these wonderful orchestrated singles tours. We do a whole bunch of them in practically every hemisphere all year long, and we just have a really great time taking groups of you guys over to places like Ukraine, the Philippines, China, Thailand, Peru, Costa Rica, Colombia, and just showing you the wonderful women that have joined our international dating service in those local areas. We've got great staff in those areas that are waiting to receive you and just want to meet you and get to know you and find that perfect match for you. So tonight we're going to answer your questions around international dating. That's our format for tonight. Sometimes it's a little formal, guys. I've got sometimes some PowerPoints, some slides, some good stuff for you. And honestly, I've just had the busiest month of my life. So right up until about half an hour ago, I was just jamming like crazy all last week and through the weekend and today, and I finished some major projects that were time sensitive that needed to get done. And what that means is I don't have a formal presentation for you tonight, but that's okay because I know a lot of you guys have got your questions built up and you want to get them answered. So here's what you can do. You can press the green box above me, which tells you to text your question to me. And when you do that, I'll see your question on my admin panel. I'll refer to your question throughout the night. I'll read it aloud and I'll be happy to answer it for you as long as it's a sensible, reasonable question, okay? You can ask whatever you want. Guys, as long as you're polite, I'll answer it for you, okay? So anything that has to do with international dating and marriage, anything that has anything to do with what you're looking at in this fabulous video that's playing for you right now in the background. We're watching footage from a recent singles tour in Ukraine. I'm sure you've heard a lot about Ukraine. Some of you are interested in Asian destinations or maybe some of our Latin destinations. We can talk about those too. I love to talk about the Philippines or Thailand or China or any of our Latin destinations. We've got single tours coming up in those places too. And they're great. So anything you guys want to talk about as it relates to what we do will be fabulous. Click the green box above me and just ask your questions, and thanks for watching. We have some things on deck for you that I'm going to mention right away that are kind of important because I just want you to be aware of how busy we are and what that means for you. First of all, we've got a couple of seminars coming up in the next 2 weekends that you should be aware of. We're pretty much, well, we're going to be in Jacksonville. I'm going to be in Jacksonville this Sunday, April 8th from 11 to 3. Jacksonville, Florida. I've done 4 seminars in Florida, I think, in the last year and a half, and they were all fabulous. And I definitely have created this delegation of incredibly nice guys in Florida. A whole bunch of them came to the seminar, then traveled with me on a tour, and we just had some really good experiences together. And now I've got a handful of guys that come to pretty much any seminar I do in the state of Florida at all, and I'm really thankful and really just grateful and lucky to have you guys out there. And I want to meet more of you, and I want to help more of you get on a plane to go somewhere this year to meet somebody. And so we're going to start off this weekend on April 8th. We've got a seminar in Jacksonville, Florida. I will be there to conduct that seminar, and you should come see it. And then Saturday, April 14th, I'll be in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We haven't been there in a little while. We're looking forward to getting up there to see you guys in Minneapolis. Those of you in Wisconsin or Iowa, get over to Minneapolis. Come on up and check out what's going to be a great seminar, no doubt about it. And that'll be on Saturday, April 14th from 11 to 3. And then the next day, Sunday, in Denver, John and Tiny Adams will be in Denver doing a seminar from 11 to 3. So again, this coming Sunday, April 8th in Jacksonville, I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you a week from this Saturday on April 14th in Minneapolis from 11 to 3. And then Sunday, April 15th, you're going to see John Adams, our CEO, honestly, the pioneer of this whole entire international dating business. He's got years and years and years, 20 plus years of international dating experience and tour leadership experience to draw from to give you a really great seminar. So what are we doing at these seminars? What is an international dating seminar? This is a couple of hours that we put aside to get out in front of you, show you some great video, talk about what we do, and we talk very candidly, quite frankly, in order to dispel a lot of the misinformation that you've seen out there, the stuff that limits you, the stuff that deflates and defeats you, the stuff that holds you back. We get all that crap out of the way for you. We give you some really good uplifting information. We back it up with tons and tons of evidence in the video that you're going to see, and we just bring break down what's going on in front of you so that you walk out of that seminar feeling like you definitely can get yourself on a plane, get out of this mold of routines that you're in, this trap of virtual communication and virtual love and virtual lifestyle. Just get out of that and go have a real and authentic romantic experience, the very best and most real romantic experience that you've had. And we love to do that. We love to just break down those barriers and those walls and show guys the rewards of international dating and marriage, and that's what our seminars are about. So a lot of information. We do kind of follow a format, but you can ask all the questions you've got. We'll throw in some lunch. They're free, they're fun, and you'll meet a lot of other guys who are just like you looking at international dating for the first time. And in some cases, a few couples that have met will stop by and say hi and just give you some love and support. So again, International Dating Seminars coming up. We just ask if you're going to be in Jacksonville this Sunday, in Minneapolis a week from Saturday on the 14th, or in Denver on the 15th, and you want to come out to one of our seminars, please make an RSVP so we can count heads and make sure everything's cool. We did a seminar in Phoenix recently where we had 12 RSVPs and 28 guys showed up. We just want to make sure we've got the right amount of seating so nobody's left sitting in a chair out in the hallway or standing up in the back. So RSVP to make sure everybody's going to be comfortable and you can get the most out of your seminar. Bud@Loveme.com. Bud, like buddy. Bud@Loveme.com. Make an RSVP so we can save you a spot and pour you a cup of coffee. All right? Are we good? All right, so guys, again, here is where you can interact with this program live. That's the whole reason we use this format. You can click the green box above me and let me know what your questions are, and I'll begin answering them for you here shortly. We're just going to have a little bit of a session tonight, answering your questions, giving you some good, candid information to move forward with. And then in about 35, I'm sorry, what am I saying? In about 50 minutes, I'll conclude because I've got to talk to all of our awesome guys who are going to be going to Medellin, Colombia at the end of this week for our Medellin tour. We love Medellin. It's a great destination, great staff, so many beautiful women in Medellin, Colombia, and Colombia in general, guys. If you have an eye toward Colombia, dude, you got to do yourself a favor and get there. You've got to get there. In Colombia, so many beautiful women, incredibly friendly people everywhere you go. Tourists from all over the world are going to be in Colombia all year round. And man, what a great place to find your future life mate. Very beautiful, very family-oriented women. Did you know that there's about a 2% divorce rate in Colombia? I mean, these are women who stand at the altar and they completely understand what they're committing to, right? So yeah. All right, anyway. In addition to our seminars, guys, and more importantly, the whole reason we do the seminars, we've got a whole bunch of really exciting singles tours coming up for you. If you're interested in doing more than watching these webcasts, you know, I talk to guys every week. I talked to guys in the last week. I remember a few memorable conversations I'll talk about in a minute, but I talk to guys all week long, really, who tell me they've been looking at our site for years. I just told John this morning, it's so interesting, after 23 years of being in this business, 23 years, one thing that has not changed at all is that we have, every week we have guys that tell us, I've been looking at your site for years. It's so interesting to me that men look at our site for years. There's a phone number all over the site. You know, we're all over the site. We're here, obviously, and we're very approachable, as you can imagine, and guys don't reach out and talk to us. Now, a lot of guys do, but a good number of guys just don't engage us. And I gotta admit, I don't know why that is. If you have questions, if you want to know what's going on out there, why not do yourself the favor of just calling and asking those questions? You know, here's a format where you can do that as well, so take advantage of it. Right, green box right above my head. Ask your questions. I'll get to them in a moment. Coming up, we've got some really great international singles tours for you on deck. As I mentioned this week, we've got one kicking off in Medellin, Colombia. We absolutely love Colombia, and that's going to be fabulous. In April, we've got two city tours, two city tours. So a total of 4 cities we'll be going to. And what's great about the cities we're going to be visiting in April is we have an office staff in all 4 cities. We also have a lot of independent agency partners. We call them affiliates. They're great. Many of them have been with us for years and years and years, and they're very reliable. They've got fantastic women, and they beg us to bring more and more and more men to Ukraine because we just don't have enough men for the number of women that are going to be there. But Odessa, Nikolaev, Kiev and Poltava are the 4 cities that we're going to be visiting in April, and those are the 4 cities that we have offices in Ukraine, right? Then we're going to be going to Costa Rica in April in about 2 weeks, so very excited to get down to Costa Rica. That tour is filling up. If you're thinking of going to Costa Rica, guys, you probably need to make a quick decision. And we're excited at the end of the month, again, we'll be doing our first tour of the year in Bangkok. And we love Thailand. We have very beautiful women in Thailand and a great office staff there. And the women in Thailand, guys, they're beautiful, they're sincere, they're definitely all about marriage and family, and they're waiting to meet you. And that is such a great opportunity if you're interested in meeting women from one of our Asian destinations. So Latin America, Ukraine, Latin America, Asia, we're going to be all over the place just in the month of April. That's a pretty darn full schedule, right? We're busy, to say the least. So 2 guys called me this week. I remember a whole bunch of guys called me this week, but 2 that I remember specifically that stand out. And one of them said, you know, Bud, I've been writing to this girl on another site for 4 years, and I just noticed that she joined your site, and I want to write to her on your site, but I want to know that she's real. So, I stopped him in the middle of what he was saying, and I said, so wait a minute, let me just understand you correctly. You wrote to this girl on some other site for 4 freaking years, and now you're about to enter into correspondence year number 5, and you just want to make sure that it's still real and still authentic, so you can write to her for a 5th year, right? And he's pretty much admitted that that was the case. And without being disrespectful, I just challenged his thought process, right? I mean, what a comfort zone. That is the whole thing that I work against, rally against, rail against. That is the whole paradigm that I'm trying to break for those of you who are watching my webcasts. That is, in a nutshell, why I exist in this particular business and realm. So many guys have settled for that, the comfort and predictability of a virtual communication. This is a guy who had written to this girl for 4 years. In 4 years' time, he'd never talked to her on the phone. In fact, I don't think it even really occurred to him. Never met her, never heard her voice. Didn't know so many things about her. 4 years he carried that forward. 4 years. I can only imagine the amount of money that he spent in 4 years. I had a very good friend of mine tell me recently that she believed that the reason men get into those long-term correspondence virtual relationships is because they don't require anything of the men, and the men know it. So the men understand that, you know, the worst thing that can happen to me here is nobody's going to ask me to do anything other than what I'm currently doing, and that's very comfortable and very predictable. I don't have to get on a plane and go anywhere. I don't actually have to meet anybody. I don't have to be attractive to this person when I meet them. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is sit here and write letters, and a lot of men, tens of thousands of men, settle for that. That's their love life, right? For a number of you watching me, it's tough love, but I'm going to tell you, that's your love life, right? You've settled for that. That's all you know about love, is some woman whose voice you don't know, whose last name you don't know, whose family you've never met. You settle for that. And I'm going to do my very best to smack you upside the head and get you out of your comfort zone so you don't settle for that for another year or 2 or 3 or 4. And before you know it, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 years of nothing has gone by, and you can't get those years back. I want you to have a real love experience, because there are so many women out there who are lonely and would love to meet a nice guy with love to give. But man, you got to get out of the trenches if you're going to make that happen, right? Yeah. Tell it like it is, bud. All right, let's go to some of your questions. Guys, the green box above me is there for a reason. I just found a question from Louise. When are you going to Trinidad? Holy cow, Louise, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to Trinidad. I don't think that's a bad idea. I'd love to see Trinidad someday, but I don't know, man. I mean, the reason we don't go to Trinidad is the reason we don't go to Japan, or the reason that we don't go to the Czech Republic. We just haven't gotten there yet. We're not trying to take over the world. 8 countries is a lot, my friend. But I'll tell you what, if you think there's a good argument to go to Trinidad, why don't you send me an email with your argument and supporting materials, and I'll take that to the gods of a foreign affair, and you never know. Stranger things have happened, I guess. Thanks for your question, though. You guys ask your questions by clicking that green box above me. We are watching video right now from Ukraine, a recent singles tour in Ukraine. We've got 2 of them coming up in April. We've got a few spots for you. We're going to start out in Odessa and Nikolaev and go on to Kiev and Poltava. Those are big cities, small cities, great cities. This will be spring. It'll be wonderful warm weather, and all of those hundreds and hundreds of very, very beautiful women. Some of the women you're watching in the video right now will be at those social events. We'll have a lot of other women that will be there as well. So just keep that in mind. And as you're watching the video, keep in mind, as you're watching the men and the women interact with each other, then all that positive body language and how close in proximity they're standing and the way they hug and they flirt, these are people who just met. This is how it is to meet these beautiful women in our social environment, right? They're open, they're friendly, they're there to meet you, they want to meet you, they don't want to be standoffish, they want to talk to you, they want to get to know you, and God knows they want to date. Look at that. Seriously, look at that. These great women just standing around and wondering, okay, when's a guy going to come over and say hi? Look at all the women in that room, guys. That is a situation you are not going to duplicate in this country, in your realm, in your life. Do you understand that? You've got to get on a plane and go and make it happen, and you can totally do that. All right. Randall says, when will you be going to the Philippines? Our next tour to the Philippines, Randall, as you can find at Loveme.com on our tour schedule, is going to be, I believe in August, we're going to be in Cebu, yes. At the end of August, we're going to be in the city of Cebu. And then I believe again in October, we'll be in Davao. Those are the two cities in the Philippines that we go to. We've got tons of incredibly beautiful, very, very nice women in the Philippines. I work with a few women from the Philippines who met their husbands, my co-workers, at our social events in the Philippines. And the guys have been great co-workers for years, but the girls are really terrific, quite honestly. The girls I work with from the Philippines, honestly, sweethearts. Absolute sweethearts. They have great attitudes. They're always smiling. They're hard workers, too, quite frankly. Just good people, the ones I've met anyway so far. So good opportunity for you there, my friend, in August or October. If August and October don't work out for you, if you look at our schedule of singles tours, and they don't work out for you because of conflicting times, you can go to any of the places that we host our groups. Just go by yourself and work with our staff directly. Our staffs are there year-round. They'll pick you up at the airport, take you to your hotel, make sure you're comfortable, and the next day start working with you to arrange dates and be by your side every single day while you date the women in that particular city. We call that a club. And the big advantage to the club is it has your flexibility, your time schedule in mind. So you can call us up and say, I've got a week in September and I want to go to the Philippines. Can we do it? And there's an excellent chance that we can, and we'll try and put that together for you. Keep that in mind, guys. It's not all about the group tours, which are fabulous, but sometimes a singles tour is a better option for you, and we can do that just about anywhere that we go. Will there be any seminars in Toronto? Randall is asking. Randall, I don't think so. Probably not a bad idea. We'll see going forward. Vito says, is it recommended to write to women and have them in the city or at the social, or is it recommended to just go and meet women along the way? And the answer is yes. Look, guys, correspondence is an introduction tool. But for many men, in fact, for the vast majority of tens of thousands of men who are actively participating in online international chat and correspondence sites, for the vast majority of those tens of thousands of guys, correspondence is the relationship. Correspondence is the end game, and that's the problem. You know, where have you ever seen a business where people who work for this business, who are the face of the business, who represent the business, John, myself, and others will tell you, stop writing letters. You know, this is what we do. We offer correspondence and translation services. That is really the heart and soul of what we do, and we quite frequently tell guys not to do it. Where does that make any sense? It makes sense because too many guys get way carried away with correspondence. Correspondence is an introduction tool. It's designed to help you introduce yourself and get to know somebody preliminarily before you travel and meet them face to face. I think a good month or two, even 3 months of correspondence before a meeting is typical and useful. You learn a lot about each other. You practice introducing yourself. You focus on your strengths and how to communicate them to somebody. You learn about someone else's culture. All of those things are positive results of correspondence. You get to work out some butterflies, right? If she responds positively to you, you know, you feel a little confident after not dating successfully for a while. Correspondence has a lot of benefits. You just can't settle for correspondence as the end game in the introduction process, right? So I think it's a great idea to decide that you're going to go and meet somebody and then begin corresponding. What a lot of guys will do is they'll start corresponding in random directions with no particular idea what they're doing, and they'll just wait and see what develops. And then they've got 3 or 4 women thousands of miles apart that they're trying to figure out how to go and meet, and you know, they realize at some point that they kind of set themselves up for a fairly impossible situation. If you can do it, if it's not too late, guys, I think a better process is to take yourself as far as you can toward committing to travel to find somebody. You write all the letters you want. None of that's going to mean a thing if you don't get on the plane to go and meet somebody. The women on the other side of this, if they're real, they're not here for pen pals. They're not here for let's just see what happens. They're writing to you because they're hoping you will develop a relationship through correspondence that will result soon in you getting on the plane to come and meet them. I guarantee you women do not want to write letter after letter after letter for months and months and months and years at a time. All the women that I've met all over the world think that's a completely crazy idea. And who would do that, they would say. If you're serious about your intentions and you're not just settling for virtual correspondence and you're not just a keyboard Romeo, at some point you've got to have a plan to get on a plane and go and meet somebody, right? Yeah. David is asking, why are these beautiful women looking outside for marriage? Do the Ukrainian men not treat women properly, says David. Well, David, there are a number of reasons why women from the different countries that we go to come to us. Some of them have things in common. For example, in Ukraine and in China, there's a little bit of a shortage of men who are eligible for marriage. In China, there's no shortage of men, but there definitely is a shortage of men who are eligible for marriage. There are a lot of men who are peasant men living in urban areas trying to work. They live like illegal immigrants, and they're dispossessed. They have no ability to provide anything, even a basic stable existence for somebody. That's very sad, but it's also a true part of Chinese culture. And so you have very, very affluent and interesting, successful women who are trying to find a life mate, but it's very, very hard to do it. And in Latin America, you know, the men are handsome and many, many, many good husbands and good fathers in Latin America, but there is the machismo culture, which is a male-dominant culture, and sometimes the male-dominant role goes a little too far and the women feel somewhat taken advantage of, somewhat prohibited from working and advancing themselves, and they don't like that. They're modern women and they don't appreciate that. You know, in the case of Ukraine, there aren't enough men. There are 4 million more women than men in Ukraine. Ukraine is the size of Texas. And the men that you're going to find are in many ways great, great men. But in Ukraine, it's interesting, but it's just my social comment, but in Ukraine, there is a severe shortage of men raising men. You've got a lot of incredibly amazing single moms doing their very, very best as survival machines, raising their children and giving them what they need while greatly sacrificing what they themselves need along the way. That's absolutely true. And because you don't have a lot of men that are involved in raising their children in Ukraine, you have some, of course, but there are many, many, many single moms in Ukraine, millions of them. You know, you don't have men that are around that are raising their men to be men. So what do you have? You have adult men that are really dysfunctional in a society that itself is dysfunctional with a lot of corruption. So it isn't so much that the Ukrainian men are bad men and they mistreat the women. In many ways, they do mistreat the women. But I'll tell you one thing that's interesting for guys who travel to Ukraine, and guys aren't expecting this. Guys will learn that the women in Ukraine frequently feel sorry for their men. In other words, I may not want to marry somebody like this, but I do feel sorry for him because I understand how he became this person who's dispossessed and unhappy and dysfunctional as an adult man. And it's not his fault. It's our culture and our stupid government and our lack of opportunity and resources and that kind of thing. But the women in Ukraine, there are many of them. They're very beautiful. What's so interesting, guys, is honestly, American culture is great for many reasons. We're not the healthiest culture on the planet, far from it. Our food system sucks. It's full of preservatives and horrible things for you. You know, and we talk a lot about body shaming, which is a very positive and important message, but I think what gets lost in that is living a healthy lifestyle and how important that is. And when you travel outside of the U.S. to other countries, people live a very healthy lifestyle. Their food system is healthier and they're much more active than Americans are. They, in many cases, in places like Colombia and Peru and the Philippines and in Ukraine and in Russia, you'll meet many, many, many people who materially have far less than most Americans do, and they're much happier. There's just no guy. There's just no guy. And that's the sad thing for these great Ukrainian women. You got to go, man. Yeah. Guys, thanks for your questions. You can click the green box above you because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to just get through all these questions for you tonight. We're doing that for about the next 35 minutes. So if you got them, send them to me. I'll do my best to answer these questions for you. Brown is asking, given that the women all look so good, what advice do you have to men who cannot decide which women to court? Well, so, you know, what happens, Brown, is this. If you travel to any of our locations, obviously you're going to be surrounded by a lot of very beautiful women. And there are definitely plenty of men whose you know, their head is just constantly swirling about them. I think in the beginning there are a lot of men who are thinking to themselves, man, I just want one girl. I just want to meet one nice girl, and I'll be fine. I'll be happy. And then we get into an environment like this where there are a lot of very attractive people, and suddenly the light goes on. Maybe I'm not in as big a hurry as I thought I was. This is kind of fun. I'm really enjoying all this dating. I haven't done dating like this. And nobody has any bad intentions. It's just that we're just dating because we're having fun dating and meeting people. But honestly, you just got to put yourself out there and you got to make sure you know what you're looking for, first of all, right? So you clearly define the kind of person that you're looking for, and definitely don't step outside of that. It's very easy if you haven't dated recently or haven't dated successfully or haven't had fun dating to put yourself in an environment where you meet an incredibly friendly woman but she's got about 50% of what you really need and what you're really looking for. And I think it's easy to fall into that when that might not be the right thing for you or for her. So have a very clear idea of what you need. Run it past a few people who are in the know, just to make sure that you're realistic, right? To make sure that your plan is a doable plan and your criteria is a workable criteria that's going to end a good result for you. And if all of that is green light go, then you just work your plan. And sooner or later, you'll find a couple of people who fit what you're looking for. And then you just go out and be a gentleman, have a great time. And the person you're trying to find, if you're really trying to find that person to connect with long term, she will show herself. She will come out of the woodwork, out of nowhere, out of the blue, if you will. But you'll find her, or she'll find you, and she'll definitely emerge, I promise you. You just got to put yourself out there, put yourself in the moment. We're looking at some great video footage from recent socials in Ukraine. We have 4 socials in Ukraine next month in 4 incredibly awesome cities: Kiev, Odessa, Poltava, and Nikolaev. And you can put yourself right in this video, sitting at these tables, talking to these women. You can do it, guys. All you got to do is make the decision you're going to do it. Call us up and let's help you do it. Yeah, Melvin says, how many ladies are anticipated to attend the social in Poltava? I'd imagine a lot, since this is the only social of 2018 there. That is true, Mel. You got it right, my brother. It is the only social that we're doing in Poltava next month. It'll be the only tour that we're doing in Poltava. I think that's a mistake. I love Poltava. It's a great, quiet little city, like Sumy, like Nikolaev, like Kherson. It's a quiet little city. The women are horrifically bored. Nothing ever happens there. And you've got a lot of very beautiful and very bored women. So for those of you going to Poltava, you got to make the most of it. Mel, I don't think we've seen our final numbers on Poltava yet. We still have a little bit of time, and I think we're going to get a whole bunch more. We got a good group of guys going right now, but we always end up with a whole bunch of guys at the last minute. And how many guys come to the social will dictate exactly how many women are going to be at that social all around the world, guys, everywhere we go. This month, for example, Medellin, Costa Rica, Ukraine, we're going to have 8 or 9 women per guy. That's just how it works out. I mean, we for years, we've tried to find what is the right ratio of women to bring. The women want to come to our socials, and we want to include as many of them as possible to show them what is possible for them. You know, we try to find the balance so that it's not so oversaturated that the men are overwhelmed and a bunch of the women have nobody to talk to all night long. We don't want to see that. We want everybody engaged. And we found over the years that it's 8 or 9 men per guy. So we'll wait and see exactly how many guys we have on that tour, Mel. And I'll clue you in later on, but it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. Great questions, guys. I'm just going to keep running down through your questions because I love your questions, right? David is asking such a great question. This is one of my favorite questions. Are there some indicators to look for that the lady might become Americanized once here in the USA? I don't know where that... David, your question is very typical and completely understandable, and I'm going to answer it, and I appreciate you very, very much. Let me have a little fun with this topic because it's one of my favorite. Somewhere on the internet, someone created that term, Americanized. She will become Americanized. What is Americanized? What is that? You're asking a woman to leave her country, her culture, her family, her friends, where she can work, where she can drive a car, open a bank account, where she has total control over her life. And she's going to come to another country, and she's going to learn to do those things here. Is that Americanized? What do we mean by Americanized? Is there a negative connotation to it? If she's Americanized, will she be like American women or American people or those things that we find frustrating? I don't know. But I think that sometimes when guys ask these questions, they're asking, you know, when she comes to America, is she going to do what Americans do? Is she going to overeat? Is she going to lose her sense of style and fashion? You know, is she going to do those things that Americans do? Is she going to change her mind about how she feels about me and easily move on to the next person, relationship after relationship, all those kinds of things? So, David, look, stop and back it up. The biggest indicator that she's going to come here and do something you don't want her to do is she's not in love with you. Do not marry anybody who's not in love with you, okay? If somebody is in love with you, if you go and you meet and you court and you fall in love, you've been in love before, David. I don't even know you, but I'm absolutely sure if you're adult enough to watch this program, you've been in love before. All of you guys who are watching have been in love before, really, truly in love before. May have been a while ago, but there was a time in your life when you thought, I'm in love and she's in love, and we're both really, really in love. And obviously, it didn't last. Sometimes it doesn't. But you know what that's like. When you go and you meet and you court and you fall in love and you test the relationship, something comes up, you've got a disagreement, you don't like something she does, she doesn't like something you do, and you talk it out and you're okay and you forgive each other and you're back to the love and the love gets deeper, but then another conflict, another misunderstanding, but you talk it out and everything's okay, and you do that again and again until those misunderstandings go away, and all there is this wonderful deep experience between the two of you where it's fun, it's peaceful, it's awesome, it's intimate, it's powerful, and every now and then, as is the case in all relationships, something comes up, but you deal with it because you're good at dealing with it. Your communication is solid and you trust each other and you believe each other. When you've got that going on, brother, that's when you get engaged. When you get engaged with that foundation, what's Americanized? She's going to come to America. She's going to have to eat American food, although more than likely she's going to want to just cook what she's used to, and you're going to help her do that. She's going to want to carry her life forward here. She's not going to want to come here and completely. You have to understand that people don't just come to America and completely divorce themselves from who they were and what they were doing for so many years up until they came to America. That little voice inside your head that says, she will get Americanized, believe it or not, David, I understand this voice very, very well. It's a little bit of an insecure voice in your head that's telling you, beautiful women don't fall in love with you for real reasons. You've got to be worried. You've got to be paranoid. You've got to be thinking there's something else going on here. She'll come and get Americanized, and then she'll leave you because she became like an American woman. She, whoever she is, from wherever she is going to come here, find friends from where she's from, and hang out with those friends. Because she will not have much in common with American people, at least not for a long, long time. And she's just not going to be able to relate to what we're doing or what they're doing. She will stay close to her girlfriends, who probably are going to be married to men like you, and your social circle will increase and everything will be cool. I don't know that there are any factors, David, but I do know that if you're in love and you believe you're in love as any two people can be, that's as good as it gets no matter where she's from, right, my friend? That's the whole reason you go forward, and in this case, that means getting married and bringing her here. Great question, and thank you for it. Yeah. Whew. All right, guys, you're wearing me out, but it's okay. You know, yesterday, oh my goodness, I climbed Squaw Peak, which is this mountain in the center of the city. It's a gorgeous big mountain. There were probably, I don't know, oh my goodness, there had to be at least a couple hundred people climbing the mountain. And my guess is it's about 3,000 feet high. It's not like climbing Everest, right? But it's straight up. Man, that was like the ultimate stair workout I've ever done. I'm never going to look at the stair machines in my health club the same again, for goodness sake. But all the way down the mountain, man, my legs were just wobbly, and I thought every step was going to be my last, and I was going to look like that guy from the Wild World of Sports, right? The Agony of Defeat. Remember that dude, that crazy wipeout? The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Story of my life. But I made it down the mountain uninjured. I'm a little sore. All right, anyway. David says, I don't mean this the way it will sound. Are these women aware of how attractive they are? Right on, David. Great question. Yes and no. Yes. They look in the mirror and they see a pretty girl. Their mom has told them all their lives, you're a very pretty girl, you're special, there's something special about you. In their culture, they look around and they see a lot of beautiful women everywhere. And in that sense, they don't feel special. You know, if you lived in a culture where you were thin and you were in great shape, you looked like a professional athlete, but everybody looked like a professional athlete, it'd be rather interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, you look in the mirror and you see someone who looks good, but there are a lot of people who look good. And I think what you find is that the women in Ukraine feel that they're attractive, but they don't feel that they are unique. This is what you bring to the table when you meet them and you find somebody and you fall in love and you give your really good love to somebody. That is your message to her. I could have fallen in love with anybody easily, but I fell in love with you because you have not only your great beauty, but these qualities and this character, and all of that is just rare all by itself. You know, people with good character, people with beauty, you know, people with these personality traits that you have, all of that is such a great combination. You're an exceptional person because of all of that, and that's why I fell in love with you. Webb is asking, is airfare included in the cost of the tour? No, it is not. So we do our tours, guys, without airfare. When we first started doing our tours years ago, they included airfare. But years ago, the airlines were willing to hold blocks of seats for us while we sold the tour for a year. What's really interesting is that even though we post our tour schedule a year in advance, every single year, we've done that forever. The vast majority of guys who come to any tour sign up at the last minute. It's amazing, but it's always that way. Every tour we do, there's this flood in the last 30 days, no matter what. It's hard for the airlines to hold a block of seats that long and then just trust us that in the last 30 days, those seats are going to fill up, and they do. But the airlines over the years decided they didn't really want to do that anymore. And more often than not, guys had their own, form of mileage and mileage points they wanted to use. And we just found that less and less guys were using our airfare. Less than half of our guys were using our airfare when we included airfare with the tours. So for everybody's convenience and flexibility, we now let you choose your path. You get to choose your airfare. All you got to do is get to the city your tour is in, and as soon as you arrive and get through customs, we'll be right there to pick you up, take you to the hotel, and begin your tour. If you need help booking your airfare to wherever you're going or want to go, or just have some questions around it, call us up and talk to us about it, and we'll be happy to advise you. You bet. Okay, here we go. Bringing your questions in, guys. Thank you for asking them. Are the Ukrainian women faithful? Says Charles. I met too many women in America who love to flirt with many other men, even if they are married. In their mindset, if they are not sleeping with other men, they're not cheating. Wow. All right, so I will say this. I've always said this, and I will continue to say it because I believe it. There's nothing wrong with American women that isn't also wrong with American men. I think our culture has just gotten away from things that are really, really important for the survival and happiness of thriving relationships. But to kind of answer your question, Charles, Ukrainian women are human, they're vulnerable, and they're typical in some ways of women all over the world, but there are some unique traits. The question you have to ask is, what kind of a relationship am I going to have with somebody that's going to require her to give up everything that she has control of, everything that she knows? If she has a child, double for the child, and bring all of that over and put it into my hands, when we will be living together for the first time. What an enormous leap of faith that is for any woman from anywhere. And what kind of woman would do that? How likely then is that woman to casually look around and meet other men? I think a lot of men in America, I kind of commented on this earlier, but a lot of men in America have this feeling of insecurity about dating in America because our culture tells us you don't have value. And you certainly don't have value to anybody who's attractive. So you worry that someone's going to look at other men, flirt with other men, talk to other men. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're ready to get married, you will have already tested that. You will have been in social situations where she could do that, and how she behaves in social situations and how you behave in social situations are going to be one of those tests, right? One of those things that you do to assess whether or not you're really compatible with each other. I think, Charles, there's no way for me to, it's an individual thing, you understand. Certainly, a large number of Ukrainian women are very faithful. They don't like infidelity. They've dealt with it in their lives, and they don't want to deal with it. They certainly don't want to come all halfway around the world and give their love to somebody who's going to do that to them. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it to somebody else. That's true of just about, everybody that you meet everywhere we go. But there are exceptions. There are exceptions. The men do things they shouldn't do, and sometimes the women do things they shouldn't do. Your mission, should you accept it, is just to go and find one woman that you're completely comfortable with, whom you completely trust. You test that relationship until there are no more doubts. And if you're reasonable in that approach, you'll find somebody you can feel completely comfortable with, who's not going to hurt you, who's going to give you the love that you want and deserve, and appreciate the love that you have to give. And that's who you go forward with, my friend, that person and nobody else, and you'll be okay. Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's see. Robert says, hey, I'm planning on joining the Odessa tour in July. Good for you. And extending my stay a week after the tour. Great idea. Your recommendation on arranging hotels for the extended days in advance or leaving those days open. If I leave those days open, would the tour leader be able to assist with hotel recommendations? Yes. In fact, if you're planning on extending your stay, I think you should leave those days open because you're going to visit a number of cities, you're going to meet a number of women, and you may want to extend your stay anywhere on that tour schedule, anywhere in those cities that we'll be visiting. So it could be the first city, the second city, the third city. You just don't know how that's going to play out. The good news is it's easy to extend your stay in any city that we will be visiting of the 6 cities we will be visiting in July. And the other good news is you definitely will not be the only person who will be extending his stay and staying in whatever city you decide to stay in, because we're going to have a ton of guys on that tour. We'll get 40 or 50 guys in July. And some of them will stay behind in one city, some will stay behind in another. And it's rare. It's really just not going to happen that one guy will stay behind in one city. So a number of guys will stay behind or go to another city and just stay there for extended time at the end of the tour because they met somebody there that they're happy with and they want to continue that courtship. Can we help you to make hotel arrangements? Yes, you're obviously going to pay for them, and you're going to, I would leave that open. It will limit your options to some extent. Not all the hotels are going to be open, but there will be hotels that are open and certainly affordable ones that are open. As long as you're willing to assume that risk, there may not be a 5-star option available for you, but we can definitely help you to make arrangements, and I think that's a wise approach. I will be there, and I'll definitely lend you as much assistance as I can, okay? Don't worry. You'll be okay, man. Just do it. Go on the tour, Robert. Go. Hey, guys, you like my videos? You like my blogs? You like this webcast? Why don't you come to Ukraine with me in July? What else do you have to do in July? Take a European vacation. Just tell yourself you're going to go have some fun going to Europe, right? I'm not going to hurt you. I won't let you get hurt. Why don't you come with me to Ukraine, and I'll introduce you to some of the very beautiful women that are going to be at our social events. Why not? Why not? It's already the end of March. A quarter of this year has already passed. Did you accomplish any of the stuff that you wanted to accomplish in the last 90 days? Full disclosure, I didn't accomplish anything that I wanted to accomplish in the last 90 days. That's not cool. Had a long talk with the man in the mirror over the weekend that I cannot accept that kind of mediocrity from myself. I've got goals. I've got very specific goals, and there's absolutely no reason for me to not meet them. So I need to double it up and make massive progress in the next 90 days toward my personal goals, right? Don't let another 3 months or 6 months go by. Don't let the better part of this year go by. We're getting up there in years, guys. I mean, we're still young and strong, but every year that goes, we're not going to replace it, right? And there's no calendar that tells us that we have another 30 or 40 years to live our lives and be happy. You just don't know. You don't have forever, I can tell you that. You and I both don't. Why don't you travel with me, and I'll introduce you to some very beautiful women, and you just might find the romance that's been missing from your life. JR says, good to see you've got coffee going. You better believe it, man. Great that there's no technical hiccups this week. I hope not. I have hiccups, but can we invite women to the socials? You sure can. And in your experience, what proportion of the women we invite turn up? JR, that is a great question. If your list of social invites, we're talking about our singles tours and the large social parties that we have on our singles tours. If you're going on one of our singles tours, you will obviously be attending our singles parties, and you can invite from our database some of the women who attend so that you've got some impact on who's coming to the social events. I guarantee you, 100% of the time, all over the world, if we call anybody up and say, hey, we have this guy, JR, who's coming up on this tour, and he's invited you to one of the social events and wants to meet you. There is no way any girl is going to let that information pass without asking some qualifying questions. 100% of the women we call are going to say, great. Who is he? Tell me a little bit about him, because I hope to meet him. I'm probably going to meet him. I want to know. And we're going to tell them who you are, how old you are. We'll read a little bit of your profile or show you a profile to them, something like that, but they're going to know a little bit about you. If your list of social invites is a realistic list, half of them, maybe 2/3 of them will show up to the social to meet you. If we're in our 50s, we're in our 60s, we're in our 70s, and we're inviting women that are in their early 20s, I don't know, that's a little bit of a crapshoot, right? In the Philippines, that's no problem. In Thailand, that's probably no problem. In Colombia, yeah, a good number of them will show. In Peru, it's got to be like a 12, 15-year age difference in Peru, but those are some incredibly beautiful women in their 30s and 40s, guys, right? So that really is it, JR. If our list is, look, if we're going to invite all the women in the banner at the top of Loveme.com, right? I want only the top 1% of Sports Illustrated models with Photoshop boobs, and they're on my list of invites. I don't know. But if your list is realistic and appropriate for you, there's an excellent chance most of the women on your list are going to show up. Great question, buddy. Thanks for asking. All right, guys, got about another 15 minutes to go, and then I got to talk to my lads going to Medellin, Colombia at the end of the week. We got a great tour coming up in Colombia, and I got to get with these guys and make sure they're good to go. So I'm doing that in about 15 minutes. I'm going to answer more of your questions in a minute. Just a reminder for those of you who have joined us, I will be in Jacksonville, Florida this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The hotel is it's the Crown Regency, I believe, by the airport. I beg your pardon. It's on the website, guys. Check the seminar schedule, or just write to me, bud@loveme.com, if you want to come to my free 4-hour international dating seminar. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to lock the doors and sell you a timeshare or anything like that. It's lunch, it's informal, you can come and go as you please, you can sit back, not say a thing, and watch the whole thing and leave. Some guys do. You can ask your questions and get engaged. I'm going to offer some great savings for those of you who want to travel with us. I will have that, some incredible promotions for those of you who want to go somewhere. I'm going to save you hundreds of dollars. I'm going to give you a lot of stuff if you decide you want to go and meet some of the women in this video in front of you, or any of the other 8 places that we go to around the globe. And if you just want to see some great video, meet some guys who have traveled with me, because I got a handful of them that are going to be at this seminar in Jacksonville, I guarantee you. And if you just want to come out and be around some guys that think like you, come on, come to my free seminar. It's going to be fun. I'll buy you lunch, one kind or another, something like that. Bud at Loveme.com for the RSVP for my seminar, please, so I make sure nobody's standing in the hallway, all right? Whew. All right, David says, as the Philippines is not as large as some other places, if I have 1 lady from Davao and 5 from Cebu, is it I should just stop right there. Is it reasonable to ask the Davao lady to come to the Cebu tour? Well, look, forget the beginning of that. Davao and Cebu are really big, beautiful cities on 2 separate islands in the Philippines. There are over 150 islands in the Philippines, and it's not realistic to ask women in Davao to come to a social in Cebu unless you want to pay for a hotel for a few nights and fly her to the social, and she's probably going to want to spend that whole time with you. The women in the Philippines are very, very much down to earth. What you see is what you get. No games, no pretenses, no baloney, and you know, they're just, you know, they're going to expect, if you're inviting them for something, they're going to attach some significance to it. They're going to want to see you and date you and spend that time with you. So that's really not a workable plan. But you definitely can meet the women in Davao and meet the women in Cebu. Look, meet the women. Have those introductions. There's nothing wrong with going on a singles cruise and having a cocktail at the bar with several ladies. There's nothing wrong with going out on a date, playing shuffleboard, going swimming, and mixing it up. That's what you go on a singles cruise for. In this case, there's no boat, there's no water. I'm happy to play Captain Stubing for you if that's necessary, but the reality is you're meeting a lot of people who are in this environment to meet a lot of people until 2 people who are right for each other will find each other, and they usually do, and it usually doesn't take very long. So just go and meet, have cups of coffee, have an ice cream, walk on the beach. There's no harm in that. Be upfront about what you're doing. Don't feel like you have to hide anything. And when you've met somebody that you feel is really special that you want to move forward with, cut all that other stuff out. Tell her she's the one, make sure she feels the same way, and then go. You found your girl. Go live the dream. Great questions, guys. James says, what is a reasonable age range expectation for someone that is 35 looking for a wife in the Ukraine or other similar locations? Well, so look, you want marriage, you want children, you're looking for a wife, and you're 35. Good for you, my friend. Right? So the good news is you probably can meet just about anybody. But what I would recommend, you know, so that you've met somebody with enough maturity and enough life experience to finish what she starts, whose parents are going to be, you know, willing and able to negotiate that she should marry somebody from another country and move away. If she's 18, 19, 20, I think a lot of the parents are going to think, you know what? Why don't you stay here, stay home, stay with us, and not leave? You're so young, you're so inexperienced. There's an excellent chance you can still meet somebody your age. If she's 25, 26, 27, I bet the parents are thinking this is probably not going to happen unless, you know, something exceptional happens, and you are something exceptional when you walk into her life. So that's what I would do. That's absolutely what I would do. I would just focus on women. You're 35. Focus on women with 10, 11 years of age difference. And you can find all kinds of women everywhere we go all over the world, James, who want to meet somebody, fall in love, start a family. Yep. So, yeah. Charles says, I've already recruited a few coworkers of mine. They've never heard of romance tours. Well, it is kind of a unique thing, Charles, no doubt about it, honestly. When I first started working here many, many years ago, and I first looked at what we do, honestly, I sat at my desk with my head down thinking the whole thing was a scam. I hoped that my mom would not find out what I did for work. It's true. It's absolutely what I thought. Sitting here looking at profiles on the computer for the first month or so of my employment, many, 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 many years ago, I was young and naive. I didn't know anything. I had all the good sense God gave a cabbage back then. Some things haven't changed, but I have gained a lot of experience and perspective since then. So, hey guys, look, people fall in love all over the world. You know this. How do you know this? There are people, just think of a country. Just put all the countries in a hat and draw one out. Anyone. There are people who fall in love there. How do you know that? There are people there. What do people do when they fall in love? You know, they begat other people. It's not hard for any two people from anywhere to fall in love if they just get in front of each other and like each other at the end of the day. That's all we really do, Charles, right? At the end of the day, that's all we do, guys. JR, James, you listening to me? All we do is just put you in front of somebody who likes you, who you like. That's it. That's it. There's nothing particularly scientific about it. We just put good people in front of each other and let the magic happen, and it does. Tom is asking, do you have tours to countries like Latvia, Belarus, or Estonia? No, we do not. And again, we just haven't gotten there yet. It's a big world, and we're really doing a lot of work in some other countries, so we just haven't made it to those locations yet. Man, my neighbors are really making a lot of noise, but that's all right. When will you have a trip to an English-speaking country, says Dane. Dane, brilliant, excellent question. When will you have a tour to an English-speaking? Goodness, I want to meet foreign women, and I want them all to speak English because I'm not going to meet women who don't speak English. Dane. All right, so we do have a tour to the Philippines. The vast majority of women in the Philippines speak English. So go to the Philippines. A good number of women in Costa Rica speak English. And everywhere we go, everywhere of the 8 countries we go to, there are women who speak English. In the other countries that we go to, aside from Costa Rica and the Philippines, probably 80 to 85% of the women do not speak English. It's entirely possible, Dane, that the one woman on this earth that you can spend the rest of your life with happily has everything you've ever wanted in a life mate and can make you insanely happy, but she doesn't speak English yet. She's smart and willing to learn. What are you gonna do, buddy? Philippines. I just find it ironic that we asked the question about when are you gonna do a tour to a place where the women speak English. If you want to meet foreign women, go meet them. You'll find your life partner. Some of them will speak English, some of them will not. How much of an obstacle for women wanting to marry someone in their own country is having a child or children in the Ukraine? All right, so if a woman anywhere, China, the Philippines, Colombia, if she meets somebody and you want to get married, you will either go to the U.S. Embassy in her country after you marry in her country. So you can get married in China, get married in the Philippines, get married in Thailand, get married anywhere. And then go to the U.S. Embassy in her country and apply as a couple for a spousal visa. That's one option. Most couples think, I've got to have her come here and spend at least some time here, making sure she's okay with being here. I don't want to get married, bring her to America, and find out she hates it. Sometimes that happens. So I'm going to do a fiancé visa. This involves her staying behind. You come back to the States and you apply for a fiancé visa. She will get invited to go to our U.S. Embassy in her country, so Kiev, Beijing, Bogota, Lima, etc. She'll go to the U.S. Embassy, she'll have her interview, she'll get her visa, and then she can come to America. The U.S. Embassy, in either case, in her country, is going to decide whether or not she gets a visa. And most of the time, she will get a visa. Most of the time, she will get a fiancé visa or a spousal visa. When she gets her visa, they will automatically issue a visa for any dependent children under the age of 21. So it's really not an issue, other than the fact that you have to be ready to support someone's child. If she's bringing her child, of course she is going to bring her child with her, you know, you've got to be able to be a partner and a friend, and at some point a pseudo dad. You've got to have things in place, health insurance, right? The ability to, you know, afford a dentist if you need one, those kinds of things. Maybe ESL resources for kids who don't speak English so they can learn right away. I'll tell you what, man, kids learn English better than adults do. They really do. Kids are very quick at learning English when they first come here. Great question, Vito. Appreciate that. All right, guys. I'll take a few more of your questions. Your questions are great. Appreciate them very much. Whew. Let me try and keep going for you. Los Angeles, Warren says, I'm thinking of going on the Ukraine tour in September. Warren, stop thinking. Just do it. How should I leave the States in order to arrive there on time for the Thursday meetings with the group? I'm flying out of Los Angeles, I guess, to New York first. Okay, so you want to go to Ukraine in September, and you're thinking about how do I fly? It's probably likely you're going to go from the West Coast, from LA to the East Coast. That could be Atlanta, Washington, Newark, Boston, or JFK. You're probably going to need one day, so let's say Tuesday, to fly from the West Coast to the East Coast. Stay in a cheap hotel, get some sleep. On Wednesday, you're going to leave to fly to Ukraine. And when you fly overnight to Ukraine on Wednesday, it will be Thursday when you arrive in Ukraine. That's probably the path, right? So you can fly to Kiev or fly to Odessa easily from any of those East Coast cities. You're probably going to end up taking a European airline or an airline like Turkish Air, which will take you through Istanbul. or Qatar Airlines, which will take you through Doha, or KLM is going to take you through Amsterdam, Air France will take you through Paris, Austrian will take you through Vienna, whatever it is, there is a hub that you're going to fly to, then you'll change planes in the same terminal, not far from where you are, and then you'll fly into Kiev or Odessa. And it's not hard to do it all, and you can do it. But I would give yourself one day to go from coast to coast, get a little sleep, and then get on the plane and go into Ukraine. That's how I do it, my friend. Go, do it, Wayne. Warren, I'm sorry. Just do it, my friend. She's waiting for you, I'm telling you. I want to try and keep your questions coming if I can. My good friend Scott. Scott from Florida says, good evening. Just wanted to say hi from Orlando. Yeah, man. He's wishing me a safe trip to Jacksonville. Scott, thank you, my friend. He says, you guys need to come to my seminar, and he's right. You do. It literally could change your life if you allow it to. Plan to go in July. What? Scott, seriously? Dude. That just made my whole entire everything. That's great. Scott and I met at a seminar in Florida early last year. Scott traveled with me in July on what was undoubtedly the most hilarious tour I've ever taken with an incredibly lighthearted group of guys, and we had a freaking blast. In fact, right now you're looking at footage from the July social that was part of that great tour. Scott, if you're going back with me in July, dude, that is absolutely freaking spectacular. I can't wait to see you again, buddy. Good times. All right, guys, I'm going to scroll through a few more questions here. Blade says, can I meet a woman from the Philippines or Ukraine who would marry me despite being disabled? I need a wife I can trust, not to stab me in the back if my heart condition lands me in the hospital. All right, so that goes back to the first question of go and find somebody and fall in love and conduct that courtship. Guys, love is part of the deal, right? See, when you're speaking, it's a very great question. The answer is yes, you absolutely can, just so you know, Blade. But what we're doing is we're asking a question which is rooted in that whole cultural paradigm of if a beautiful woman tells me that she loves me, there's got to be something going on, because beautiful women don't fall in love with me. I don't get beautiful women to fall in love with me in this culture. There's always something going on. She wants this, she wants that. It's not about love. And we're so entrenched in that we don't even understand when we're speaking from that. And so what we're really asking is, I don't want some woman to use me and come here and get Americanized and stab me in the back when I go to the hospital. Dude, what are you talking about, for God's sake? Go, first of all, take a vacation. You definitely deserve a vacation, don't you, Blade? I'm going to go see Europe. Lots of people go to Europe. I want to go see Europe. In fact, I'm going to go to Eastern Europe. What's Eastern Europe? Czech Republic, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Norway, Stockholm, Eastern Europe. Go to Eastern Europe, Sweden. In this case, you're going to go to Ukraine. It's a very developed country. The World Cup was there a few years ago. There are tourists that go to Ukraine from all over the world all the freaking time. It's not a poor third world country. So just say, I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to go to Ukraine. I can go to Ukraine on my passport. I don't even need a visa. There are hotels. I'm going to go with a tour group so that I'm not by myself. I'm going on a tour with a tour group to Ukraine for a vacation. Whatever else happens after that is gravy. If I have a great vacation, I will enjoy that. Just tell yourself you're doing that, first of all, Blade, and then we'll get you in front of some very, very nice people, some of the nicest people you've ever met, who happen to be single available women. I will tell you this, women in Ukraine, I just know the culture, are going to look and think, I can fall in love with this guy based on who he is, his character, his personality, who he is as a man. I can definitely do that. But I'm a little worried about what happens to me if I come to his country and I'm dependent on him, because I won't be in control. I won't be able to save myself if anything happens to him. I won't be able to protect me or my child. I have no status. I have no ability to do things. So I'm a little worried about that. And you're going to need to sell somebody in Ukraine on the idea that you can take care of them and provide for them. And if you can do that, then she'll let down the barriers and the concerns, and she'll fall in love with you. You have your concerns. The women have their concerns too. But two people who are good-hearted with good intentions, who like each other, blow through those concerns and those walls, and they fall in love and create the relationship. In the Philippines, I will tell you, you probably have a better chance. You know, it's interesting. There are a lot of nurses in the Philippines. There really are. There are a lot of women who traveled abroad for work as housemaids and nurses. They have a very service-oriented culture, quite frankly. They really do. And I just think that your chances of meeting somebody in the Philippines are much wider than they are in the Ukraine. But as long as you're realistic about age difference, and you go to Ukraine with the right approach, you can meet somebody in Ukraine as well. But I do have some concerns, Blade, about, there's no ADA in Ukraine, so it's not always easy to get around. But I've had guys go to Ukraine who had some challenges definitely to overcome. And you can do it. If you choose that's what you want to do, I will absolutely help you to the best of my ability, all right? If you want to talk more personally, Blade, you can definitely reach out to me. I'll be happy to do that. Guys, I'm going to be in Jacksonville, Florida this Sunday from 11 to 3. Come out to my international seminar. What have you got to lose? Are you in Georgia? Are you in South Carolina? Are you anywhere around there? Are you in Tennessee? Are you in Southern Florida? Get up, drive, take a short flight, and come to my seminar. Sit in the back, eat my bagels, drink my coffee, and watch my seminar. I'm not going to hurt you at all, but I'm probably going to cause you a few sleepless nights because I'm going to mess with your head. I'm going to get you out of that virtual comfort zone that you're stuck in, and I'm going to get you believing that you absolutely have worth and value and love to give, and that love is incredibly important to somebody out there who has no love coming in her direction and would welcome you literally with open arms if you would just go get in front of her and meet her, and you can have a happy love relationship. There are so many women that come to us from different places, and they're here because it is incredibly difficult for them for cultural reasons we don't really understand sometimes, right? I understand. But you're new to this, so you don't really understand. Why are there so many women in Ukraine who are here? Because there are 4 million more women than men in the country of Ukraine the size of Texas. 4 million more women than men. And unfortunately for all of those women, most of them are pretty beautiful and in really good shape. Why are the women of China here? Because China is really big on arranged marriages. Women in China want to work, make money, be successful, and they want a husband who gets that and won't suffocate them against that, but will instead encourage them to achieve their dreams and be fulfilled. Marriages in China are often arranged, and the women are expected to stay home and put up with the behavior of their husband, who will do all those things for himself. Women in China don't want that. They want a husband who gets it, right? Come to the seminar and learn, just take in the information. Guarantee you, it's going to give you a dull headache by the time you leave, and you'll never be happier. And we'll have some coffee, and who knows, I'll come up with some pizza or sandwiches or something for lunch. We'll have a really good, honest discussion. Whatever questions you got, I will get out of the way for you, and then you can do whatever you choose to do after that. 11 to 3, Sunday, Jacksonville, bud@loveme.com. 1 week from Sunday, 1 week from this Saturday, the 14th, I'm going to be in Minneapolis. We haven't done a seminar in Minneapolis in several years, right? You want to get up to Minneapolis and do the same thing I just mentioned? Do it. Are you in Chicago? Are you in Detroit? Are you in Wisconsin? Are you in Iowa? Come up to Minneapolis. Come to my seminar, Saturday, 11 to 3. April 14th and April 15th, if you're in Denver or can get to Denver, come on. John Adams, our CEO, will be there with his 23 years of experience in this industry, and his lovely wife, Tanya, from Russia. They've been married for 20 years. They have a great family. She's awesome. Just come and ask your questions, and then get up and leave when you want to, and have just a little bit of inspiration and get some good information. Hey guys, you know what? If our paths cross, just you're watching me tonight or whenever you're watching, that itself is a little bit of serendipity. There are forces at work in your life that brought you to this and brought me to you. I absolutely believe that. I control what I control. I'm giving you my heart and soul and lots of good, honest information, and God knows a ton of passion to get you off your butt, out of the virtual comfort zone of virtual relationships, on a plane to go and meet somebody real so you can have a real girl in a real life of real love. What a privilege, right? We will be back 1 week from tonight. I'll probably have a PowerPoint or something really clever to go over. Your questions are great, guys. I appreciate them. You're welcome to send them to me, bud@loveme.com. RSVP for our upcoming seminars. Get your butt off the couch. Go on a tour. Take a vacation. Do it in April. We're going to 4 cities. We have got such great tours this month. In Costa Rica, in Ukraine, in Colombia. Speaking of which, I got some guys that are waiting for me on the tour to Colombia, so I've got to go talk to them. We'll be back 1 week from tonight. There's a guy behind the scenes who makes everything you're watching happen. His name is Kirk. He's completely awesome. Kirk, thanks as always. Hey, talk to you next week at the same time, guys.